Welcome to another edition of Daily Airline News, focusing on the search for MH370. I'm Jeffrey Thomas, and I'm delighted to say, joined by my co-host, Blaine Gibson. Good afternoon, Blaine.
Good afternoon, Jeffrey.
Yeah, it's a great afternoon. And today, viewers, we're going to be focusing on debris, your questions on debris. And there's been some really good ones. So we're theming this episode around MH370 debris. That's the debris that we will find on the ocean floor. So starting the questions
Yes.
off, Paul Todd, 3497 Blaine, he says, gents, after 11 years, I would think the wreckage of MH370 on the sea floor would be buried with at least 3 to 4 meters of silt. That would make it very hard to recover. Your thoughts? Good question.
Well, I don't think it will be covered by that much silt, and neither do the underwater search companies I have spoken with, and neither do the oceanographers I have spoken with. The seafloor is very calm, and not that much silt builds up at all. And in fact, if you look at some of the pictures of the shipwreck that Fugro found while they were looking for MH370, it's sitting very peacefully on the seafloor, waiting to be found. Very
Mm,
clear. And you look at some of the photos of Shackleton's Endurance, which was found in the Weddell Sea in Antarctica very recently. That's 110 years ago, and it was just sitting on the seafloor as it would in port, very intact and solid and peaceful and not covered by silt and easy to spot. So I believe that the wreckage, while the 370 wreckage is not intact like those shipwrecks, it is shattered into many, many pieces.
mm.
Nevertheless, there will be lots of pieces that are not covered by silt at all. And there will probably be, as Jeffrey has said, the undercarriage, the wing box, some large pieces of engine that will be easy to spot. Those will not be covered by silt. And even some of the smaller heavy pieces sitting on the seafloor, since they're searching with AUVs and looking for small shattered debris, they could find one or two of those, and that would lead them to the main debris field. And the main debris field, most of the debris will be quite visible. And even if there is a little silt, their AUVs can detect under a layer or a few layers of silt. So I don't think that will pose a problem, fortunately.
Mm. Classic Roach, how much longer do we have to find the wreckage? What do you think of that, Blaine?
Well, we have longer to find it. It's not too late, but it's already been way too long. It's been way too long for us and for the flying public, and especially for the families. It's been too long. So we
Mm.
need to find it right away. But it is not too late. The black boxes can still be recovered, and the data will probably still be recoverable. And the wreckage will still be quite visible in the scans and the AUVs that are searching for it. So it's not too late, but we need to do it right away.
And of course, as we've just shown the viewers in the earlier question, we've showed them Shackleton's ship and others that are 100 years old. And of course, also on top of that, we've had found wrecks like the Bismarck and the Titanic and the HMS Hood and HMAS Sydney. And then we've also found loads of American and Japanese warships in the Pacific. I don't think there's any issue about running down the clock as far as finding it is concerned. If it's there, we'll find it. It's just a matter of looking in the right spot.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
So Rob Barton is asking, a question must be, how many large size pieces are we looking for on the sea floor? I'm thinking there may be much more than landing gear engines we are looking for. Well, I think you've answered that really, Blaine, have you not? I mean, we're looking at landing gear, obviously, and we're showing viewers right now the Air France 447 landing gear and some of the debris from that crash. But your thoughts on that beyond that, Blaine?
Well, yes, Ocean Infinity and any other search companies that undertake this will be looking for landing gear. They'll be looking for wing box. They'll be looking for parts of the engines. Jeffrey has described very well the larger pieces that may exist, but they won't just be looking for that. They're sending down the AUVs and looking for small shattered pieces
Mm,
similar to the debris field of Egypt Air 804, where
mm.
almost everything was completely shattered. They're setting their scanners to be able to search for that. And so if they see any of those, then they'll have found the plane or enough of it to go to where the black boxes are, the main wreckage site, and recover what they can. So, yes, they're looking for everything, not just the big pieces, also the small.
So, from moderator friendly, excellent video. Please don't ignore conspiracy theories, but continue to debunk them in videos like this. Just because it's obvious to you that something is impossible doesn't mean it's impossible to others. Please keep educating the rest of us. Well, okay, well, that's a good point, Blaine. I mean, we do look at some of these conspiracy theories and say, no, we're not going to run with that because it's completely incorrect. But maybe there is an episode or two for us to go through the conspiracy theories one by one and actually tell everybody precisely why they can't be they are conspiracy theories. Your thoughts?
Yes, I think that's a very good point that you make. Ignoring the conspiracy theories does not make them go away,
No.
especially in this modern age of disinformation.
Yeah.
I mean, I was absolutely astounded to see that Netflix, which told us, I mean, Raw Entertainment, the producer told us and told the families that this was going to be not focused on conspiracy theories. It was going to be focused on the families. It was going to be focused on science and evidence. And yet the Netflix documentary, which I would call a show, gave viewers three choices. One theory, which was the captain homicide suicide theory, and two, which aren't even theories, complete
No.
fantasies.
Yeah.
Crazy things that 370 was shot down in the South China Sea, and another that it was hijacked and landed in Kazakhstan. So, yes, we need to address these different issues. Uh, Ridiculous claims that the plane crashed in the jungle of Malaysia or Vietnam or Cambodia or landed at Diego Garcia. These are nuts, or that it is intact underwater. It's not, or that it crashed in the Andaman Sea, Malacca Strait, or Java. There's all these crazy things out there. And we do need to address them and debunk them because this age of disinformation, a lot of people believe it. There's
Yeah.
so much stuff on the internet. So you make a very good point.
He does, and that's that. I think leading up to the resumption of the search, we could go through the dozen or so theories and explain one by one, an episode for each theory, and just say go through it piece by piece and say, well, it can't possibly be because of these things, and not just. It's interesting. It's not just pointing out that what they say is wrong because you, for instance, have found debris in the South in the in Africa, uh, but there are other elements to their theories which debunk them straight away without referencing to anything else, like the one that springs to mind, Blaine, was the one that the 777 had crashed in the Cambodian jungle, and then there was an image of a jungle, and there was a 777 just placed amongst the jungle, and there was no area where it had crashed. You normally, if a plane crashes into a forest, the wings rip off and explodes, and there's a trail through the jungle where it's ripped trees to pieces. It's absolutely clear as night and day as to what has happened, and you just don't get a perfectly intact 777 superimposed on the jungle. Yet British newspapers published it and said this is where it is. So we could go through
I
that.
know, and it's interesting, Jeffrey, that you mentioned that because during COVID, I was in Cambodia and I actually went to the spot. It's a
Yeah.
lot of people hike around there. I went to the spot, and of course, there was nothing there. It
No.
appears to have been a photo of a plane flying over the jungle. There
Yeah.
is absolutely nothing there. And also remember that early on, I was very open to all different theories. I mean, until
Yeah.
the flaperon was found, I was open to possibilities in the South China Sea, Gulf of Thailand, Andaman Sea, Maldives. I looked for debris there. I talked to people there. There wasn't anything. So
Yeah.
I early on investigated a lot of these things that have already been dismissed. And yet, for some reason, in this age of mis and disinformation, they persist. So I'd be happy to do that with you in a future episode.
Great stuff. So Lee Newcomb, 85. Question for all three of you. Well, there's only two of us today, so we'll ask Richard afterwards as well. Why haven't they searched the areas you are talking about? That's Armada 7806. Was searching an area that I thought had been searched before. So, what's the reason for not going to your areas? Great episode, as they are all nice to see, and nice to see you back, Blaine. Well, I can probably start by answering my part of that, Blaine, and that is
Yes, please
7806.
do.
Yeah, 7806 went back to start a search, and they started. There's a number of hotspots that have been identified for this particular 18-month search, and they decided to start on the Blaine Marchand and the IGA hotspots in the southernmost part of the search area. And they did that because the weather was closing in and they wanted to get that out of the road. And initially, they were apparently just doing mapping, tick off some areas that had not been properly mapped before. But yes, we understand they were mapping and prior to resuming a full search in November. And so the other hotspot, of course, is the major hotspot, is the University of Western Australia area. And Blaine knows all about that. And that encompasses the Whisper area, which is where I believe it is. And that's within the University of Western Australia debris field area. So we're hoping in November they'll resume. Your thoughts, Blaine?
Yes. Well, I'd like to go back to the beginning. First of all, Fugro in the first search did not search the UWA area at all because they did not have the debris at first. And UWA was not the official oceanographer for ATSB. So the UWA recommendation, which was between 28.3 and 33.2, was not followed, and the search was done south of there. Then in the second search, the Ocean Infinity search, they hit some of the UWA area, however, only narrowly along the seventh arc. And they need to search wider from the seventh arc in both areas, both the UWA and CSIRO area. And then in the current search that is going on, Ocean Infinity started in the south, understandably. It makes sense to start south and move north. And they covered the Blely Marchand area and some of the IG area in 36, 35, 34, and then suspended the search because of the weather, and will resume in November. And it is my hope that in November, they'll keep going north to the 33 that was in their original basic proposal, and then do the UWA area thoroughly all the way up to Whisper at 29 and 28. And whether Ocean Infinity decides to start in the Whisper area and head south, or start in the south and go north, that's up to them. But it is my hope that they will search the UWA area wider and prioritize the Whisper location at 29.1 degrees south and Broken Ridge at 32.5 degrees south.
Yeah. Now, Kathy Blake, Blaine, is your shirt available to buy? Now, I can answer that question, Blaine, for you. Because Richard and I have also been asked for shirts and mugs and hats and things like that. And delighted to say, and of course this is subject to Blaine agreeing to it, and I'm just telling him now for the first time, delighted to say we've found a supplier who in fact will completely look after every aspect of merchandising, and we are going to merchandise. So very shortly we will have merchandise with t-shirts like the MH370 t-shirt that Blaine is wearing, subject to copyright. We have to sort all that out first with that design. But yes, we will have merchandising very soon. Blaine, what do you think of merchandising? A good idea?
Jeffrey, I think would be a great idea to do some merchandising of shirts.
Yeah. So we just have to sort out what we can make available, etc., and we'll let the viewers know in due course what we're going to do. So
Yes.
so Top Cat 298, why would people not want the plane found? That's a very interesting question for you, Blaine.
It is a very interesting question and a very important one. And as I have said before, there are some groups, some people who do not want the plane found at all. And there are some who do not want the plane found unless it's where they say it is and happened as they said it did, because they are wedded to their pet theories and agendas. Mm-hmm. So those two different groups, I think the second group is larger than the first. However, the first group that doesn't want it found at all is more sinister. And I follow closely the disinformation and misinformation efforts and trace back the threats to try to find out who is behind them. I think probably the largest group are ones who just want MH370 to go away and not be bothered with it. And that is also very sad. I am in the part of the group that is dedicated to finding the plane and the truth, no matter what it is, no matter where it is.
And the why could relate to potential significant payouts to the victims' families, depending on a variety of circumstances, and that could be a substantial amount of money. So, but we won't go there. That's probably one of the reasons why some people in Malaysia don't want it found. So, Anthony,
that could very well be.
Yeah. Anthony Fraser Quebec Yankee 3 Romeo Quebec. Blaine, have you ever wondered why you have not found any safety cards that are usually kept in the seat pockets in front of passengers? I would have thought there must have been over 300 of them, and that'd be right, on MH370. Do you think the same, or is there a reason that you know of that none of them have been washed ashore? Thank you for your ongoing commitment to MH370.
Well, thank you. And that's a very good suggestion. And I have been looking for them. And I have told people in Madagascar and other areas to be on the lookout for them. And my answer as to why I haven't found any or they haven't found any is just that we weren't lucky enough to find them.
Hmm.
I'm sure that they float. They could maybe make it that far. And if they had washed ashore and someone saw it who knew what to look for, they'd pick it up. But that just hasn't happened yet. I
Hmm.
do know that because I spoke with oceanographers about it, that they would tend to bleach out in the sun and the salt water. So it might just be a blank piece of plastic by the time it reached Madagascar. And I think that the main reason that neither I nor anyone else has found any is that either they didn't recognize them or that there are only 300 of them. I mean, there are tens of thousands of pieces of the plane. However, only 300 seat cards. And unless you happen to stumble upon a safety card, it simply gets missed.
Hmm. Yeah. Um, Mark E. Lane 056. How far would wreckage drift underwater?
Very good question. Wreckage would not drift much underwater at all because the heavy pieces will sink pretty much straight down from the crash site. The underwater currents are minimal. And the only wreckage that could actually float underwater, which sounds strange, but that would be neutral buoyancy, where something would be suspended in the water near the surface. That could float with the currents, but that's very rare.
Hmm.
So, and on the seafloor, it's very, very calm, and the wreckage would not move at all
Hmm.
once it's down there, and only very little on the way down from the underwater currents. So they'll find the main debris field pretty much under the crash site.
Yeah, indeed. So that's all we've got time for today, viewers. Blaine is going to be back in a couple of days with some new debris, which will be very exciting to see what that is, where it came from on the aircraft, where it was found, and that will be in a couple of days' time. So please watch out for that. So, Blaine, thank you very much for today. And viewers, thank you for watching. Thank you for subscribing. Please like us. Please keep those comments coming. We really do appreciate them very much. And do keep the questions coming. They're absolutely fabulous and very thought-provoking. And we'll do our very best to answer them for you. So thank you, Blaine.
Thank you very much, Jeffrey, and I'll see you next time with some new debris and some answers to some very good questions that appeared just recently.
Good stuff. Thank you.